Hello and welcome back to 67 Hail Hail. That's more like it, Asim. We'll get right into the action here. I'm assuming you enjoyed your day supporting Celtic as much as I did.
Yeah, definitely, John. That was much more like it, much more like the Celtic that we know and love and that we've seen earlier on in the season. And I just feel it was almost perfect, and it was just what we needed, I think, as fans and even for the players themselves, just to feel good about ourselves again. And yeah, it was pretty much flawless, other than maybe a clean sheet. You couldn't really ask for much more on the back of the midweek game. So yeah, I was delighted. A great day out, all in, and a perfect performance and result.
Well, I'm certainly happy because I think the last few videos I've done have been on the back of defeats or some sort
Yeah.
of poor result, unfortunately. So I finally get to cover and talk about a win, which has been rare of late for me. So I'm very happy. With no Hamish today, if you're unaware live or watching later on, Hamish has found himself at a wedding today. I don't think he's even seen the game, so
Yeah.
he's enjoying himself. He's probably pretty steaming, so we'll see if he turns up tomorrow or if he's back on Monday. Um, but for us, we're here to talk about Celtic. We've got lots of people joining the live chat already. If you're joining in after the game, be sure to leave a comment and leave your thoughts on the game or what we've had to say. As you can imagine, we'll be pretty happy today. I know there's been a lot of talk about the Champions League over the last little while. We're just not going to really delve into that too much today. We're just going to take today as it comes, talk a bit about what we've seen today at Celtic Park and kind of a couple of players promising signs of the future. Assam, today when the team was announced, what were your honest thoughts on the team Ange picked before it took to the field? Because I noted a little bit of concern from some supporters about, the likes of James Forrest playing, for example, or, Mooy perhaps playing instead of Abelgard. Ironically, turned out to be two of our best performers. But before a ball was kicked, how did you feel about the team today?
I thought I was quite happy with it. I think the right now is probably quite difficult to predict Celtic lineups at the moment. We've obviously with a few injuries and as well just with players on and off form, it's harder to predict, especially in that kind of midfield to front area. So when I seen the changes, I wasn't overly concerned with Forrest. I feel like he was due a start because the other players, Maida and Abada, have been off form. So I thought it was a good game to get him on. I know there's been mixed opinions about how Forrest did in midweek, but I thought he was livelier, and today proved it again. I thought he was brilliant, as you mentioned. Abelgard, I'd like to see him more, and again, that was one that kind of caught my eye at the start, that he's again not getting game time, which I feel like he needs in order for us to see him more, and maybe other European games or just games going forward. But again, Moy came in, and again, I thought he was a star performer. So I didn't have too many concerns with the team. I was glad Haksabanovic was starting, and also
Mhm.
glad Georgios Giakoumakis was starting because I felt he'd earned it as well. And yeah, he was a constant handful throughout.
I was happy Haksabanovic was starting on the wing today because I've been, I've not had an issue with the way he's been playing centrally, but I just wanted to see what he could do in kind of those more open areas. And thankfully, he kind of delivered on my
Yeah,
pre-match hopes because I think everyone would agree. I thought he was by far our best player in that first half and really lit the game up. And even in the first 10 minutes, there was a sense of anticipation. When he had the ball, you kind of hear the crowd kind of well up a little bit and kind of be excited about what he was going to do. And ultimately, that proved correct because it was him who kind of laid it on a plate for Forrest within 10 minutes to score, and that was just kind of indicative of his overall play in that first half.
yeah, he's similar to Jota in that way that he gets you off your seat, and I think we lack that in the other wide players that we've got, in terms of the creativity and ability to maybe beat a man and make something happen. So when Jota's not in the team, I do have that concern. But Haksabanovic, anytime I've seen him, seems like he can fill that void, and it'll be great to see the two of them, in the same team when Jota's back, because as you mentioned, every time he gets the ball, you feel like he'll either create a chance or beat a man. He can shoot, and yeah, we've seen glimpses of him, but it was great to see him, start a game. And I was disappointed when he came off, but thankfully it doesn't seem like it's a major concern. And yeah, we need him in this kind of games coming up, especially if Jota's to be out any longer. Then I feel like he's our main creative spark at the moment. And yeah, he's he's really caught the eye.
He just has that bit of he just brings that bit of tension to opposition defenders. I think
Yeah,
he kind of holds the ball at his feet, and you're just kind of which way is he going to go? Is he going to play a pass? Is he going to take a man on? And I think you kind of seen that as the half regressed. And for Giakoumakis' goal as well, Haksabanovic was involved in a way, kind of had the ball on that left flank, and another kind of good sign of the half overall was actually his partnership with Alexandro Benabe, who I
Yeah,
thought had another player who had a really good game today, and his kind of underlap and run, getting in behind the defence and a pinpoint low cross to Giakoumakis was fantastic to see, and I really think there's something in that Haksabanovic and Benabe thing that I hope to
yeah.
see. Maybe not on Wednesday night, but another home game perhaps. And because I thought, those two combinations, everything good was coming down our left side in the first half.
Yeah, I agree. And Burnaby, that's two really good performances he's put in now, and that's good to see because I did feel earlier in the season, obviously there was no competition for Taylor as much because Burnaby wasn't getting much game time, and in the few instances he was still looking a bit raw. And I just think he's come onto a game in these last two, especially. He's a great carrier of the ball, and he kind of eats up space, and he's just looking more and more assured and confident. And the good thing is he's a different kind of player to Taylor, and I think that's the strength of our squad in certain areas right now is that when we're making changes, like Ralston coming in for Juranovic or Burnaby for Taylor, they're different kinds of fullbacks. It's not like for like, and likewise up front with Giakoumakis. So we've got a real kind of different way of playing sometimes and using players' strengths. But I agree that left side was a constant threat for Hibs, and they just couldn't deal with it. Once we got into our stride after like 5 or 10 minutes, it just felt like we could score anytime we were going forward, and it was just maybe occasionally just that final ball that was missing. But yeah, it was three, and it could have been a lot more. After 25 minutes, we were three up.
Yeah. We're cruising.
Yeah,
Got a comment here from Del Steinoff. Why take Haksabanovic off now? You've obviously missed it. If anyone else watching has missed it, Anne's given up the after the game, basically saying Haksabanovic had a kind of small ankle issue going into the game, but was really desperate to get a start and kind of played through that. And so once the game was won, they took him off after 45 minutes. So I think it was more just a precautionary thing, more of a plan thing. I think Maeda was actually warming up very early at half time, so it seemed like it was all planned in advance rather than picking up an issue in the game. So hopefully no concerns there, no concerns for Wednesday night at Motherwell. Now, we can't really go much longer, Asim, without talking about the main man today, really, and that,
yeah,
perhaps unexpectedly for some people, although you did reference that he has been doing decently off the bench in recent weeks, but James Forrest, I mean,
yeah,
basically today was all about James Forrest. He'll hit the headlines, for a variety of reasons, not just scoring a hat-trick, but also, notching up 100 goals for the club, one of only 30 people to do that in the entire history of the club. It's especially rare for a homegrown player to have come through the academy and do that. In all aspects today was really a showcase for James Forrest. Still being a member of the squad, still being useful member of the squad, and kind of is still part of Ange Postecoglou's plans. Really, how did you think his performance overall, and just reflecting on his 100 goals for the club? Pretty
yeah.
special moment for him today.
Yeah, it was fitting for him to get the hat trick in front of the home crowd and get that 100 goals. I think Forrest is one of those, he splits opinions in recent times, but overall, the general consensus is Celtic fans know how much of a great servant he's been over the years, as you mentioned, right through from the academy. And to get 100 goals and still be with the amount of trophies he's won, it was brilliant to see that for him. I was surprised at the start of the season when he was given his extension. I think a lot of fans were. And up until these last couple of weeks, he has barely featured in any kind of meaningful way. So there were a lot of doubts as to why we did that. But you've seen now players will go through dips in form. So he's came in at a perfect time right now, and he could be crucial in these next couple of weeks. What Forrest used to give us quite a lot was obviously his direct running and pace, but he's been a good finisher in his time as well, and I think that's key that he's got those goals today because. When he's not maybe beating a man or things like that, his confidence may go. But having the 3 goals today, and I just felt generally he looked fitter, he looked livelier, he looked more self assured as well. So yeah, I'm quite optimistic that he can contribute in these next few weeks and for the rest of the season. And I'm very happy for him because I'm a Forest fan.
Yeah, I think what happens when players sign contracts is that there's an assumption that they've signed a contract and that means they're going to be the main man and that we're going to build a team around them. But I think it's always worth taking a step back at moments like that and understanding that, there's a very specific reason why Forrest remains part of the squad. It's because, Ange trusts him, Ange values his experience and values kind of obviously values what he offers on a day-to-day basis at Celtic, not just in matches but at the training ground and perhaps in other areas. And Ange did make the point after the match in his BBC interview that sometimes people don't understand that you need a variety of different types of players in a successful squad. You need players who perhaps won't play as often as some others, and it's not just about handing out a contract and assuming that this guy is going to be the main man for us. I mean, I don't think anyone sensible would really have thought that. But today was a reminder of what he can offer. In those moments, as he said, there's going to be times when we need something a little bit different, or Ange wants to lean on a specific type of player. And I think Forrest at least showed today that he's not done by any means. He can be a very useful squad player for us. And I thought the way, obviously his second goal, David Marshall makes a bit of an error in that regard, but I thought he took his goals well and showed he was really, really motivated to do well for the Celtic team. He was desperate to get that third goal. I think he knew he was on 99 goals. And he's, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit more of him on Wednesday night. And if he does well again on Wednesday night, in the League Cup, then who's to say that he doesn't get, more matches in the Premiership and even in Europe over the next few weeks?
Yeah, that's all you can do right now for all the players that are coming in when we're making these changes is really put in a strong claim, and he more than did that today. As you said, he brings so much more to, like, as you quoted from earlier on Twitter, I think, with Ange's comments, that there are a number of reasons why we keep players around, and I'm probably guilty of that as well. When at the start of the season, thinking, right, he's not really someone that I feel is going to bring a major contribution this season. But there's things like experience, and I know he's not the most vocal type of player, but just general know-how, and he's been there for so long. We've lost players like Beaton last year, and obviously McGregor's out injured just now, so he's the kind of player in that squad right now who's the most experienced and has the most know-how in game time. So these things can be invaluable as well. And yeah, we've got a few injuries just now, so there's no reason why he can't carry on playing and try again midweek and stake his claim for the Champions League games coming up as well. So yeah, it's competition for places, and that's what you want, people to come in and take their chance, as him and a few others did today.
Comment here from Hugh McNeil. The question, what does Aaron Mooy bring to the squad, has been well and truly answered. Still closing down and hitting attacking passes in the 90th minute. I think we should touch on Mooy, because I think if Forrest didn't get a hat-trick today, that Mooy was a contender for a Man of the Match award. I thought he was particularly good in that second half and was kind of orchestrating things, for long spells of that second half. And I know the game was won, it's a little bit easier. Hibs' heads go down as soon as, we hit 4-1 because they did pull a goal back. But, at 3-0 the game was won, they come back into it, but Celtic had to keep pressing and pushing for goals. And I thought Mooy was a big reason for us, getting into good positions, finding players in space and kind of pushing and pulling Hibs across the pitch, really. I thought it was, in my opinion, it was Mooy's best game for Celtic today. How did you feel about him? And, is this a sign of improvement and that he's going to offer us more? Is it a sign that perhaps it was a simple case of him being played in his best position today because he wasn't in that deeper role? He was in the kind of so-called number 8 role a little bit further forward. What was going on here with Mooy, and what does it say about him over the next months or so before the World Cup?
Yeah. So Mooy was one that I think prior to the St Mirren game, he came on quite a few games and was impressing people, and there was calls that, okay, maybe he should get a start. And then I think there's just been a couple of games, St Mirren, and then obviously with the St Johnstone goal, that people were maybe doubting him again. But today, as you alluded to, I thought he was brilliant. He was near enough, behind all of our kind of creative attacks and good moves. And I just thought his energy was really good today as well. I thought he was, when Callum McGregor's out the team, I always have that kind of concern for that position, because it's quite a niche way that Callum plays. He's constantly there to receive the ball, and then once he bounces it off, he's there to get it again. And it takes a lot of energy and movement. And I think Mooy was brilliant at that today, especially in the second half, the amount of times he would just get it. But he just looked very mobile, much more mobile today as well. I thought he was up and down the pitch. He was involved in a lot of our creative attacks and then taking it off the back four. I thought, easily his best performance. And if he can continue that level, then I'd have no issues with him playing that position while McGregor's out. Because I think other than one time when he got caught in the ball, I think he got caught maybe just dallying on the ball a bit longer. But other than that, he was pretty much flawless, and he was behind everything good that we did today.
I think Mooy, for me, it's obvious he's not, quite as sharp in tight spaces as the likes of Hatate and even O'Reilly, but he plays the game in a different way. He tries to find space for himself, away from opposition players to receive the ball, and often when he's, passing on or moving on, he's still in a lot of space. He's very good at finding, a cushion around him to kind of pick out the vision and get the pass away. And I think you saw that for his assist, which I thought was well earned in the end. After he had such a good game, it was nice for him to get that kind of lofted pass over to Maeda, who kind of sticks it away. And again, good for Maeda to get on the score sheet this season and kind of break a drought that was becoming a bit of a unhelpful narrative to his development at Celtic this season.
But yeah, just to touch on Moyes, his range of passing, we all know that's one of his main strengths. But I think you've really seen that today. A lot of through balls that created. He could have had more assists as well, and he's very aware of who's around him. So even sometimes he's holding. Other than that one, he did lose it, but he always gets that ball away just in time, and he drags a couple of players out of position just by holding it on in his composure. I really enjoyed watching him today in that second half, especially, and I think you could tell he was enjoying it. It's like he just looked like a different player today in terms of his overall mobility, and just seemed like he was really enjoying his role out there. Likewise, happy for Maeda. I know he's came under a lot of criticism, and some of it, justified. He's not been on form, and I think it was telling Ange probably thought at 3-0 up it was a good time to bring him on. When the game's won, and try and maybe get him a goal and lift his confidence. And I thought he played well today. He was working hard as always, but I thought he linked up a few times well and deserved his goal. And you just hope that'll kick him on as well now, because confidence is a major thing in football. And you could see, there was one time he was through it earlier in the second half, and he decided kind of tried to do a pass rather than maybe go ahead himself. So you can see that maybe was something playing in the back of his mind. He seems like a confidence player, but on the back of that goal, you'd like to see him kick on now, and I'm happy for him as well.
Ange was interested in his post-match comments. He was kind of bristling a bit of some of the chatter around the Champions League, and I don't want to go too much into the European stuff because we've said a lot about it on the channel over the last few days, and we've discussed it as well. But I think my point is that I think Ange was looking for a statement win today. I think he was looking for something like what we saw. I think he wanted to win the game by a decent margin. I think it was important for him. I think it was important for the players because the dam kind of burst in terms of finishing, and we've not really touched on Georgios Giakoumakis, but important for him to get another couple of goals. As we said, important for Maeda to get his goal. And it just feels that today was a little bit of turning a corner back towards what we saw before we started the Champions League. And, we had that amazing win against Rangers. We had a really big win against Dundee United. And today was more like that kind of form. And I think that's a good sign heading into two tricky games against Motherwell and Hearts, which I don't think will be easy by any means, either of them. And I think it was important for us to kind of find our shooting bits today.
I agree. As much as obviously we'd all take the 3 points today, I do think it has been a while. That Rangers game seems a long time ago since we've had a victory of this manner. We've had a lot of difficult games in there in between. We've only had, I think, the 3 league games, but they've been one defeat and obviously the 2 narrow victories, 2-1, which haven't been convincing. So I did feel that it was coming as well. I just think we have been creating chances, but you just wanted us to be clinical and ruthless, and we played with an energy again today, and you could tell the players were enjoying it. And I agree, it was something that we needed for both the players, and just football is big on momentum and the psychology of it all. It's amazing how quickly things can change. Everyone's leaving that stadium feeling really happy, and you're looking forward to that next game again, which is obviously in contrast to how we felt during the week. And it's the Champions League can be like that. There's going to be tough games, so it can be up and down because you've got domestic, and then you are going to suffer setbacks. But I just feel like this came at the right time because big game on Wednesday as well, obviously in the League Cup, but it is a tough one. And then Hearts away, and then the Shakhtar. But I just feel like this gives us a platform now to really attack those games and feel good about ourselves. And you've got players coming back, hopefully from injury. You've got players coming back into form now, hopefully with Maeda and Forrest, and you've got your Giakoumakis back in amongst the goals. So No, it's massive, and I do think that the nature of the victory is big as well because we needed that. I think we all needed that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. And who knows, we could be even happier this time tomorrow. I think
Exactly.
I think you can make too much about putting pressure on another team, but I just felt this week in particular, with both teams losing, a lot of discussion around both teams, for Celtic to go out and win so convincingly today, with so much noise around Rangers at the moment. I do
Hmm.
think today does add a little bit of pressure on them, and
Yeah,
who knows, that can be a factor as well. I don't want to go
yeah,
too deep into that, but I would expect, a fair amount of Celtic supporters to be at least keeping an eye on what tomorrow's result is. The likelihood is, of course, that Rangers do beat Motherwell, and
yeah.
I go into all their games expecting them to win, but you just
I
sense
agree.
that it's important for us to at least do everything we can to make a gap and put a little bit of pressure on them.
Of course, you can't control what other teams do as long as we're winning our games and keeping the lead at the top, and that's why it's just so important that we do that. But yeah, the manner of their defeat midweek and the injuries, it does feel like this is a pressure game for them. Now, all we can do is obviously win our game, but even us winning it well, it just changes the mood. And you know what it's like in the city, it's all about, it swings and roundabouts in that sense as well. So I'm delighted with the manner of our victory. And yeah, I'll be watching that tomorrow. And as you said, it does put a bit of pressure on them. They're not in a great place. So fingers crossed. But yeah, more about what we do just now. And I think, today was so important for us to win and win in that way.
I'm going to pull in a few comments here. One from Clayton Inglis: flew into Glasgow today from Australia. First time seeing a Celtic game live. Not a bad first visit. Certainly, I hope you enjoyed yourself. I do think it was important for the fans today. We're not really referenced that, but it was important for the fans to see a good, strong performance from the team today and get a bit of confidence back themselves, because these things linger on, and we all know how
Yeah.
the narratives linger on. And for Celtic to come out and be strong is often good. I noticed there was a few complaints about the referee today. What did you make of the referee's performance at Celtic Park today?
It was quite a strange one because obviously it didn't really impact the result. I don't think there was any major ones. I think this chat of Hitate's one potentially being onside at the time it looked off, but I don't know. I'll need to see it back. But it was just some strange ones where I think there was a foul that he gave for Kyogo to one of their guys at the edge of the box in the second half, and it was just like it was nothing in it. The one at the end with Bernabe, it didn't look like there was anything in that, and he pulled him back in the last minutes there as well. So it was just a lot of strange decisions, which you're just like,
So it's all the wee ones that wind people up, doesn't it? It's all the wee
yeah,
ones.
exactly.
I don't think there was anything glaring today. I mean, there was a shout for a Giakoumakis penalty just before half time, but looking back at the replays of it, I don't think there was anything too much in that. So I don't think there was anything too glaring. But sometimes referees just get on supporters'
Yeah.
nerves, and that certainly seemed to be the case today.
I thought
I think
the crowd was good as well today. Sorry, John, just
yeah,
to say because after these European games, especially after defeat, sometimes it can be a bit flat, and you're obviously it helped that we scored early, but I felt everyone was in the same direction today. It felt like the crowd, we obviously we won't touch too much as you mentioned on the Champions League stuff, but I think over the last couple of days, most of the stuff I've seen and the conversations I've had and seen as well, I think we're all in the same heading in the same direction and having the same conversations that are reasonable and in terms of where we're at and where we're heading and on the back of Andrew's presser yesterday as well, I think got everyone a bit more buoyant again that we are making strides, we are heading in the direction and right direction. And naturally after Tuesday night there was a lot of raw emotions and myself included, and you're frustrated, but I think generally fans and players and manager we're all aligned in the same direction, which can't be said for the team across the city at the moment. And I think that's important that we're all still quite together. There's no knee jerk reactions to things. It seems like it's all measured conversation that needs to be had. But it's today as well, in the atmosphere and the crowd seemed good, and obviously the goals helped that. But it just feels like we needed that to get a feel good about the place again, and yeah, it's great to see, and hopefully that'll just take us on for the rest of the month now.
Robert John, great game. Finally, some scoring as confidence returns. Pat Santers looking better after this result than recent times for sure. 6-1 is a cracking good result with same scoreline versus Hibs in 1972 Scottish Cup final. Dixie Hatchet game was at all of them years ago. I don't think us two were at that game.
No, not
Asim, I
quite.
certainly know it. I've seen the goals from that game, but sadly we were a bit young to get to that one. But I think everyone will look back and kind of remember today as a good day. I think the moments like James Forrest, his 100th goals, it makes it a little bit more iconic. So I'm glad everyone had a very good day that sets us up for another good and important few weeks. I think we'll leave it there. Asim, is there anything else you want to add about today's game or anything around today's game that you want to get off your chest?
No, I think we've covered most of it, and yeah, we just it's good to get your job done on Saturday, and we can now sit back and enjoy tomorrow's football without that pressure, and you're just feeling better about the club, and yeah, looking forward to Wednesday already. So yeah, back to winning ways, which is important.
So I'm not sure when Hamish will be back. It will likely be Monday. And then we'll be building up to a strange kickoff time on Wednesday. I think it's 6:15 or something silly. So we'll have reaction to that game as well, and then building up to what is a big game at Hearts for a variety of reasons. First time VAR's in use in one of our games in Scottish football, so I'm sure that will be eventful. And then it's Shakhtar after all that. It's all happening in the moment, and we'll be here on 6-7 Hail Hail. Thanks for joining us live. If you joined us live, thanks for joining us. After the fact, if you're on demand as well. And as I say, leave a comment, leave your thoughts on the game, what we've said about the game, specifically players. I think there'll be a lot of chat about Bernabe and Haksabanovic after this one, and hope everyone has a good weekend, and we'll see you next time. Thanks very much, guys.
See ya.